Good morning, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning to you. Well, my goodness, the royal family has had an incredibly busy week so far. We've got a lot of stories you might not have seen covered anywhere else, from the Highland Games with King Charles to Princess Anne's busy schedule. We've got James Middleton. We've got more stuff going on with the Commonwealth Games. And of course, we're going to get into more of Harry and Meghan news, the newest social media posts from Meghan that have got people talking, all kinds of developments around the Sussexes. So let's just jump in and get busy because there's a lot. Let's go. We're going to start off this video with King Charles. He attended the May Highland Games at the John O'Groats Showground in Scotland. This took place on Saturday, August 1st. Now, as the long-standing chieftain of the event, he kicked off the traditional summer holiday by watching heavy events, cheering on athletes, greeting local crowds while dressed in his kilt, and having a little bit of a dram of something to drink. Local whiskey, actually. And he was sitting there in the main marquee. Now, he has served as the chieftain of the May Games since 2002. That is a title that he inherited from his grandmother, the late Queen Mother. These games trace back to the 1970s, when the local community organized a gathering to celebrate the Queen Mother's 70th birthday while she was residing at the nearby Castle of May. And so this event is traditionally held on the first Saturday of August each year. While I don't have pictures of them, Lady Sarah and Daniel Chatto, daughter and son-in-law of Princess Margaret, attended the games as well. So the king watched the Highland spectacle, including the caber toss, the stone put, the sheaf toss, and Highland dancing. He also closely followed the tug-of-war competition and personally shook hands with the winning team, which consisted of local firefighters. Charles also spent time speaking with the Wounded Highlanders, which is a team of injured military veterans who regularly participate in the game's adaptive sports categories. Keep in mind, we didn't see William, Catherine, and the kids here because they were at the Commonwealth Games, which we already covered on Monday, but we have a little bit more to cover in just a few minutes. But let's continue on with this. Now, we know that the Wales family was at the Commonwealth Games. We know that they stopped at the Wales house. Remember, we covered all this already. Well, William and Catherine led the kids over to speak to some gymnasts who won bronze medals within an hour of each other earlier in the week. And they were talking, and Catherine asked, "What are you doing?" And Charlotte was asked, "Are you doing a lot of stretching and conditioning?" And they both nodded and said they do a mix of both to ensure they're strong and flexible. And then Catherine looked at Louis and goes, "Well, you're perfecting your handstand at the moment." And Louis goes, "Yeah, a bit, but Charlotte says I'm not very good." And then they asked Charlotte, "Can you do one?" And Charlotte goes, "Yeah." So then they asked George the same question, and he and Catherine laughed as George said, "I'm rubbish at anything that involves flexibility." Charlotte then said that her favorite part of gymnastics was the floor. And Catherine goes, "Yeah, because Charlotte likes her dancing." And William said, "Well, she loves gymnastics and she loves ballet." I also want to throw out there that I love this family photo. They're copying the Sussexes. With that said, as I said in my live on Sunday, George is turning into a very, very handsome young man. I'm just going to show you some pictures from this visit to the Commonwealth Games. I'm going to put it to some music. I'm sure these pictures are going to end up on some girls' posters on their walls. Watch this. Let's move on now to Sophie and Edward. On August 2nd, they went to Kelvin Grove Park. They stopped by the park during the final day of the Commonwealth Games. It is the official free Game On live site. And what they had there were games. They were hosting giant viewing screens. There were some cultural activities. There were family sports zones for the public. I mean, this was only going, the games were only going for 11 days, and this was day 11. Now, they engaged with some local families, some volunteers, and some sports fans. And on the same day, they were seen watching the judo event at the SEC Center and the netball gold medal matches at the Hydro, where Sophie then presented medals to the winning athletes. These two were very busy. Don't forget, on July 30th, accompanied by Princess Anne, they watched track and field events, including the hurdles, triple jump, and the decathlon. They watched boxing matches together on day 8. They watched weightlifting on day 7. They watched also on day 7 the netball group stage, lawn bowls. There was track cycling. They visited the Team England house, and they were there for the opening and closing ceremonies. We'll be covering the closing ceremonies in tomorrow's video, but busy, busy, busy. You guys already know how much I love these two. A big thank you to Carol and my moderator, as well as Remoulade Sauce, for showing us the beautiful outfit that Sophie was wearing on this day. Let's continue. Let's move on now to Princess Anne. She released a wonderful message for International Women's Day. It goes on for about 3 minutes. I'm just going to play about 30 seconds just so you can hear her voice, because I think she sounds a lot like the Queen. Listen to this.
You have been exploring the significant contributions made by Canadian and British women to Allied victory in the First and Second World Wars. Those women who served in the armed forces and supported the war effort in numerous ways, both at home, in the UK, and in Canada and other countries. In 1940, early in the Second World War, my grandmother, Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, paid tribute to all the women contributing to the war effort, saying to them that they were giving splendid and unselfish help at home and in distant lands, across roles that included every field of national service. As well as acknowledging roles played by thousands of wartime women, today is a celebration of the relationship between Canada and the United Kingdom.
Now, sticking with Princess Anne, she and her fabulous husband arrived on the Isle of Wight to mark the historic 200th anniversary of Cows Week. Now, this is a world-famous sailing regatta kickoff because this is the bicentenary celebrations, and this took place on August 1st. So she toured the 200 Maritime Heritage Trail on Cowes High Street, which is a special project created by the Classic Boat Museum and the Royal Yacht Britannia Trust. She visited the Events Nerve Center at Regatta House to meet with staff and volunteers managing over 630 boats competing across 40 plus classes in the Solent. She viewed the newly restored Cowslip, which is a flying 15 sailboat originally gifted to Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip in 1949. Her busy itinerary also included opening Albany Gardens, boarding the THV Patricia, and visiting the East Cowans Sailing Club. Just to clear it up, the Albany Gardens that Anne opened is a new community space that was opened specifically to mark the bicentenary. And when she went to the Regatta House, she met with organizers, volunteers, and staff that manage all those boats. Now, the boats themselves, this week is the world's longest running and largest sailing regatta of its kind. It evolved from a single 3-day race into the premier fixture of the British sporting summer and high society. The first one was held in 1826, and it had 7 cutters that raced for a 100-pound gold cup. It was won by the Clipper Arrow. And now, of course, we have the Bicentenary Regatta, where we're celebrating 200 years with over 630 boats and 5,000 sailors. Next up, Prince William put out a message, Nirmal Portia was killed after an avalanche on Broad Peak, which is situated on the border between China and Pakistan. So William put up a message saying he was truly saddened to hear of the tragic death and those who lost their lives in the avalanche. He served with distinction in the British Armed Forces before becoming one of the world's greatest mountaineers, and he put Nepalese climbers on the map. His relentless pursuit of what seemed impossible, combined with his humility and selflessness, made him truly unique. And it concluded with, "My thoughts are with his family and the families of all those who died." That's sad. Next up, we have James Middleton, Catherine's brother. You know, he started his own company with dog food. We know how much he loves animals, and I know that this is really an advertisement for him to sell his dog food, but I just love the way he interacts with the animals. I also love listening to him speak with that accent. Listen to this.
I have something exciting to share today, and Isla, come on. And the star of the show is actually this one here, so I brought her along to come and see it with me.
So Isla, can you remember when we did some filming the other day and you wanted to know why? Well, I might have a bit of a surprise for you.
Isla, there's something very exciting for you here. Isla, sit down, okay? You wait here, okay? Ah, Isla. Isla is the star of our new Sainsbury's ad. Have you seen it yet? But we're celebrating the launch of our new Booster Topper range, which is here at Sainsbury's, so get yourself down and pick up a pack. Let's go and give her a celebratory treat. Hi Isla, good girl. Well done Isla, good girl. Guess what I saw? Guess what I saw? Look at this. Look at this. And look, and remember Isla, look. Yeah, you're the star of the show. Yes you are. Yes you are. You want one? Good girl, good girl. Good girl, good girl. Right, come on. Let's go. Let's go, come on.
All right, let's move on to Beatrice and Eugenie. Apparently, they're extremely fearful because there are reports that Sarah Ferguson is considering doing a TV documentary. She apparently is already in talks with streaming giants about it. And one of them is, guess who? Netflix. So according to a senior production source who spoke to the Sunday Express, talks are ongoing between two major studios and an unnamed third party acting on Sarah's behalf. And the documentary would focus on Sarah's life, including all the scandals that she's been caught up in. And if things work out, you'll expect the end result to be just as sensational and embarrassing to the royal family as Harry and Meghan's Oprah show. Maybe Sarah should sit back and see how that turned out for Harry and Meghan before she decides to do that. Now, in the meantime, there's been a lot of talk about the state of Beatrice and Edo's marriage. Not that it's anybody's business, but they're showing some pictures. They're trying to show unity in the shadow of all of the royal scandals, and their distance is fueling the rumors. And so, you know, the public support for them supposedly remains strong. I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, they shouldn't have to put anything out. Let's move on. Next up, we have some memes from Duchess Katerina Farkle. Enjoy.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.
All right, let's go on now. Remember, I already just told you that Harry and Meghan did another freebie vacation from a billionaire because I think they can't afford anything else. Anyway, apparently while they were there, they experienced, the views and the wildlife and all that kind of stuff. We know this 800-acre island is owned by a hedge fund tycoon, but apparently while they were there, they also took a steamboat, like a vintage steamboat trip around the Scottish island. Now, nobody even cares that they were there. It certainly raises the question of how these details became public, because people believe these details could only have become public with their cooperation. And it's at this point that people are noting that their worries about privacy are fake because the pictures that Meghan was able to put up on Instagram could be reverse searched, and it was reverse searched. So, they're trying so hard to protect their privacy around their trips, and then they post these photos that clearly shows where they are, and where they were and where they're going to be in the future. Literally, you get the point. I get it. Now, next up, she put up a new ad for her as ever. Now, I always find it interesting that she makes this stuff with multiple edits and then she doesn't eat it. And she's touching her nose and she's showing the dog. I believe that's the dog that died. But here's what I think she wanted you to see. Her engagement ring is not on, but she's got a huge diamond on her right hand. Now, several people said that was a topaz. No, it's a diamond. We've seen it before. Instead of the 2-carat pinky diamond, she's got this diamond. Now, keep in mind that this is a woman that has taken humility training. And it seems to me that jewelry like that should be worn out for special occasions, not when you're making food, not when you're trying to sell products. Because I'm looking at this going, why would I buy your product? You can afford everything. You don't need it. Then on the same day, she posts this video. Very odd. She's obviously taping herself, walking through her garden, picking flowers, and showing her arranging them in her kitchen. Now, everybody's going, what's the point of this video? Well, I think I figured out what the point of this video is. If you guys look around very carefully, here's what I think the point of this was. First of all, just back in May, we heard that she was being mocked by the neighbors because her house had not been painted or updated since it had been built, 20 some odd years ago. And people were saying that her house was like, the Olive Garden because it had the same old dull drab colors. So I could be wrong, but I truly believe the point of this, you see the brown cabinet on the right? I believe the point of this was to show you that they've painted the cabinets and updated the colors in the house. And I just had to point this out. Remember I told you her blackberry jam looked like a blood clot? And all of a sudden that's what's being reported in mainstream media. Shocking. Right? This is not royal, but it does tie in. I find it very suspicious. And Elton John is Brooklyn Beckham's godfather. And he also happens to be friends with Harry. And both of these boys are having problems with their families. It almost seems too much of a coincidence. Apparently, Brooklyn and his wife were spending time with Elton and his husband on their yacht. And he's probably giving him more advice on the lawsuits, about with the parents and so. I just find that too much of a coincidence that Elton John has his hand in on every person who's having an issue with their parents. That's just my personal opinion, of course. Let's keep going. All right, I had to touch on this. Megyn Kelly has slammed Meghan Markle for posting that picture of her kids near Diana's grave. And, that photo has really just turned everybody's stomach. And she called Meghan Markle not only a disaster tourist, but a disaster artist. The point is, she can't go anywhere that doesn't bring up a tragedy where she doesn't insert herself. So in this case, the family is smack dab in the middle. Let's not forget, she posted this picture. Who can forget the shooting at Bondi Beach where Meghan showed up with Harry trying to act like she was crying, which she wasn't, and she trampled all over the beach where all those innocent people had been killed? How about when she took a private jet to Uvalde with her own camera crew and she walked back and forth in front of the crosses of those poor children who had been killed in their elementary school? At the same time, her father was in the hospital from a stroke and she wouldn't go see him, but she showed up here. How about the LA fires where she showed up to hand out food that she didn't pay for, didn't help collect, and then went with the mayor and traipsed over the remains of where people's houses used to be, even though the area was closed? How about Harry and Meghan's trip to Jordan? It was supposed to be a humanitarian visit where they made sure to take pictures with injured children. And they went to a facility that was filled with staff that were Hamas sympathizers. Critics argue it's more about publicity than actually helping anybody. All right, let's move on. Okay, in another state, Harry and Meghan's Archwell Philanthropies published a statement because Minnesota decided to outlaw AI notification applications. Now again, Harry and Meghan had nothing to do with that happening, but it happened, so of course they're jumping on the train. And they're taking aim at Grok, which is on X, noting that Elon Musk, the leader of the tech company responsible for X, sued the state of Minnesota to stop the law from going into place just before the ban was due to take effect. Again, I couldn't help but notice the statement was put out by Archwell Philanthropies because Archwell itself has effectively shuttered and gone out of business because they sucked all the money out of it. And another story I wanted to touch on was Holly Willoughby. She relaunched her career and she shipped it to YouTube for a lifestyle show, but the public feedback has been so bad. She's being compared to Meghan Markle. They're saying that watching her show is like watching paint dry. Ouch. They're saying that, she's back, but not with a bang. Well, maybe she should get off YouTube. All right, now everybody is still going on about this lawsuit, and apparently the judge has, approved what the publisher wanted, which is an immediate £10 million interim payment. And he has taken a credibility hit, and the individual cost among everybody is going to be high, and there's a lot of public backlash on Harry. What a lot of people are talking about is, judging by their crass, money-grabbing desperation on their recent Australian tour and the sky-high costs of the candles and jams on Meghan's As Ever website, their money is running low. The U.S. audience is getting tired of them, and I think Harry was hoping his father would help out with the payment, and that's not going to happen either. He's been dubbed now the Desperate Duke, the Dim Duke, the Desperate Duke, because having to come up with $3.3 million in America and like $5 million in Aussie dollars, he's got no money. And I think he's trying to tap in to the royals' vast wealth. There are 4 things that's being reported Harry's going to have to do if he wants to get back in with the royal family. Number 1, he has to rebuild credibility. That's something only Harry can do. And that takes time, consistency, and discretion. And patience is not, Harry's forte. Out of those 4, discretion is the one for me. I don't think either one of them can be discreet. I just don't think it's in their makeup. Does anybody think Harry can ever rebuild trust within the royal family? All right, you guys, you know what to do. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.